Hello, and welcome to Healing for Life Together, powerful healing with expert practitioners. My name is Lauren Brem, and I'm here today with guest practitioner Tracey Clark-Worrall, who will be joining us for our upcoming seminar, Open Your Body, Open Your Mind, starting November 7th, 2012. Hello, Tracey, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Lauren. It's great to see you. Great to be here today.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to our teleseminar.
Me too. This will be our third one together, I believe. And we're going to be working on a totally new topic this time. And we're going to talk about that today because I think a lot of people have read the title and are probably thinking, what is this seminar about? So before we dive into what specifically we're going to be doing in this seminar, could you tell those people who haven't met you, don't know about your background, a little bit more about your history, particularly how it relates to this idea of opening up the body and restoring the mind?
Oh, okay, my pleasure. Actually, I started with Body Talk in 2007 and have a full-time practice in Body Talk, as well as teaching. Of course, I'm a Body Talk instructor. And I came into Body Talk from a very different background, certainly not a medical background. I was actually a professional dancer. And through dance, I was introduced to the healing arts, mostly through my own injuries and need, as many of us have arrived in this field, and started studying Body Talk. And it just took me into an incredible direction and has become a complete passion for me. And so I began my practice and went into teaching in Body Talk, and actually through Body Talk and the study of the body was inspired to continue my studies. And I'm now just about to complete an osteopathic diploma, and I find that it's just been an incredible experience to go into more of an allopathic approach to the body from an energetic background. And it's just been an incredible addition to my practice and to my teaching. And I'm happy to say I'm now an advanced instructor, and I'm teaching Module 5 as well. So that's really my background, and I find that this particular topic resonates with me so strongly because I came to this work from a real connection with my body as a dancer. And that's probably my strongest sense that I use as a practitioner. And I'm excited to share that experience and knowledge with our students in our teleseminar in terms of connecting with their body and really living fully through the physical, mental, emotional as one.
Yeah. Well, I know, as I'm a dancer as well, and I think that, your background is so perfect for this topic because dancers, we know our bodies so well because we're so in communication with them and learning to move them through space. And then, now that you've been very busy this year, obviously, getting your diploma and teaching the lymphatic drainage work. So before we kind of go into how that's going to tie into the seminar, I'm wondering if you could explain to people that are listening, we talk about this concept of not being in your body, and we know what it feels like when the mind is just kind of foggy and not present either. Can you talk a little bit more about your understanding of why that happens? Why aren't we in our bodies? Why isn't our mind present in the way we know it can be? What happens to us that takes place?
Well, I think ultimately a lot of us feel very drawn in multiple directions, may have high levels of stress in our life, may have gone through trauma, or are dealing with chronic pain issues. And as a method of coping, one of the ways that the nervous system will address that level of stress will be to disconnect physically. And I think a lot of us from time to time may have had to go through the motions to get through a highly stressful time in our life. And, in Body Talk, we talk so much about the effects of stress, not only on the nervous system, but on our physical body and our emotional bodies. And one of the ways that we oftentimes cope through these periods of high stress or high demand is to disconnect from the physical. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't come back into our bodies. Oftentimes we say our biography is in our biology. And there may be areas that we just don't want to visit. We just don't want to go into. And so we stuff those away in our tissues and go on about our day and oftentimes start to ignore certain messages of the body, certain connections of the physical body. And I think that is a problem for a lot of people, especially when we're feeling, as I said, pulled in multiple directions and when we're the last person on our list of priorities.
It really stood out to me when you said going through the motions. I thought, wow, because
Mm-hmm.
we all know what that disconnected place feels like when you're going through the motions, because we have that capacity. Like, we can keep on going even though we're not really present. And think about how wearing that is on a relationship when we're just going through the motions, or with our kids, or when we're driving or at work. Like, we don't want a practitioner that's just going through the motions. We don't want a partner that's going through the motions. We want someone in the moment.
Someone who's really present. And I think that that's something that a lot of us maybe have not even really experienced in our life, is full presence. And hopefully this seminar will help us to reconnect to that presence. It's interesting, we talk about the mind and the body. And in Eastern perspective, in body talk, in osteopathy, there's a principle that says that the body is a dynamic unit of function, meaning that mind, body, and spirit function as one. But how often do we actually create differentiation between that? We separate those entities. And I think, that's one thing we can really work on in this seminar, is identifying the qualities of the mind that's in the body and what the body is reflecting of the mind, and really starting to reclaim aspects of the physical that we may have shut the door on.
I'm excited about that. So leading into, or kind of continuing that, you're talking about the physical, and you have all this training in the osteopathic work, the lymphatic work, obviously working with clients one-on-one. And usually people that do that work are very limited in that they can't do it at a distance. You have to be in their office. But of course, we're doing 6 weeks of sessions at a distance with a group of people. Can you explain, how this works? Because is this just an idea? Does it really work, and how does it work? And sometimes it's hard to wrap our minds around that. Can Tracey really release my occipital bone and help my lymph drain, from Canada? I mean, how does that work?
Well, it's very powerful here in Canada. It's a great question, and it's something that I think I come up against so often. People are always asking me that question, because I do work with a lot of distance clients, and I think a lot of body talk practitioners are developing more and more of a distance clientele. And my observations in working at distance has just been incredible. The profound nature of the ability of the body to change, even when working with somebody at a distance. And I think to understand that concept, we need to understand that the body, as well as the rest of our universe, is really built around quantum dynamics, which means that one of the greatest, I think, most important things to understand from quantum theory is that in order for something to manifest, to change, it requires an observer. And that there are multiple probabilities for any outcome. But it's where we place our energy, our observation, that is the probability that comes to the fore. So working at a distance is really about serving as an observer and developing our subtle senses in a way that we don't need to have necessarily physical touch. We can rely on our tactile senses, our subtle sense of touch, our subtle sense of sight that can span distance. And so rather you're right in front of me in my office, or if you're across the world, I'm still using that power of observation of your story. And my hope is in this, not only as a teacher in Module 5, that's something I work on a lot, is developing the subtle senses so that we can develop an ability to do something that would normally be a manual technique and take it right off the body, or across the world for that matter, and affect change. But I also am hoping that we can introduce that to the students of the teleseminar, is to actually help them to learn to be their own observer, to tune into the body in a way that they can observe the dynamic, they can observe the story that the body is trying to tell them, or that is a reflection of their own life in some way. We have incredible messages in our body all of the time, and it's about learning to be present to that and to observe that. And that's really where I start to see that distance sessions, remote sessions, are very powerful because they're so incredibly non-invasive. We're not introducing anything to the nervous system. We're not taking you out of your life. We're leaving you in your own space, in your own life, so to speak, and allowing that session to unfold while you're still present to your own life. And I think that that's why distance sessions can be so incredibly powerful.
That's interesting. It reminds me of the training of when you're working with people's pets, how it's good to like go into the home and work with the pet in their own environment. And I actually like to do that with children a lot because then you get to go
Yeah.
in and you get to see the whole matrix that they're living and breathing every day, and then work with them in that context. And I hadn't thought about that with these seminars, that we're also reaching people right when you're in that matrix that is your home and your family and relationship dynamics, and you're wearing the clothes that you wear, when you're getting home from work or whatnot, and that has an energy to it as well, and it's like a very specific session. So this seminar, it's 6 weeks of sessions focusing on reclaiming your body, your mind, your life. Tracey, if there were, a couple of specific, type people or type pathologies that you could really reach with this seminar, like who would you so want to take this seminar for 6 weeks and have this experience?
Well, I think it applies to all of us. I mean, there's certainly nobody that couldn't benefit from this one. But I think, looking from a standpoint of who would benefit the most, I'm thinking that people who have had chronic issues in their life, so chronic pain or very acute pain patterns, long-term illness, long-term stress. We look at a illness as one manifestation of imbalance in the body, but remember that stress is one of the biggest components of illness. And so even if we don't see that necessarily in the physical, somebody who's been under a lot of stress, who's had a lot on their plate for a long time, is probably experiencing that same disconnect as somebody who's been in a lot of physical pain. So those would be the people that I think would truly benefit from this. People who have, for one way or another, would maybe like to develop their subtle senses a little more, like to develop their intuition a little more, would like to explore a different level of potential in their physical body, the capabilities of the physical body. So those are all areas that we're going to be exploring, and I think would definitely benefit a wide range of students.
Excellent. Well, for those people who haven't done a Healing for Life Together seminar, we do a live Q&A each and every call, and people are able to write in questions, comments, feedback on the sessions, as well as write in during the week, and we review your intake form. Tracey and I will have your photos up in front of us, and we do a lot of, I know one of the things I like about your seminars, Tracey, is you do so many kind of interactive exercises and really make it very tangible when we're on the phone with you. You make us get up and do things, and which is great. I love it, and I know that a lot of people write in and say, as a practitioner, these seminars are so helpful because we all get into kind of ruts in our practice, and we get stuck in certain patterns. And watching someone else work in this way and it's kind of like taking a class, like a Body Talk seminar. But we opened up the Q&A for this interview as well to kind of give people the experience of being able to communicate with us, even though we're not hearing their voice. And someone wrote in, Tracey, and said, "My body is so tight these days. It feels like each month I get stiffer and stiffer and lose more flexibility. Stretching doesn't seem to be doing anything. Any suggestions? And, will this seminar address something like that?"
That's a great question. And it's one that, of course, as a manual therapist and also a personal trainer at one time in my life, I always say, it's a question that could be coming from many causes. As we understand in Body Talk, no one cause affects an outcome. There's usually multiple causative factors. And in terms of stretching, there could be a lot of different factors to that we'd want to look at. Example, how are you stretching? When are you stretching? The body is going to respond to stretch in particular neurological responses. But from a standpoint, if we're looking more energetically and the nature of this or dynamic of this teleseminar, I would start to look at things, as I said, what is it that you're resisting in life? Is there something that makes you feel limited or locked in or unable to fulfill a potential? Every action in our body, every response in our body generally has some subconscious blueprint to it. So everything has a message. And I always find as a body talk practitioner, when my clients start to come in with a complaint and they're not saying, well, I'm not sure what I did. They'll say to me, I'm not really sure what it means. Then I know I've done my job as a practitioner to get them to start to look at things differently. So it's a little bit of a difficult question to answer with one simple sentence, but I would dive a little deeper into that and say, if things are getting tighter every month, what feels tighter in your life every month? What is the body trying to reflect to you? Is it a mental restriction? Is there something that you're resisting in terms of change, or something you're resisting in terms of expansion? Generally, that stretch reflex is something where we're stretching outside of the box, and maybe there's some type of limitation in life right now that's making you really feel restricted. So those are things to explore. And from a physical standpoint, things like making sure tissues like to have warmth, they like to be eased into motion. And, that's kind of a good analogy for life too, isn't it? Sometimes we like to be eased into things. We maybe go at it too hard and too fast, and that creates the opposite reaction. So from a standpoint of what the body does, if we lengthen something quickly, it sets off a neurological response to shorten it quickly. So that's something else, even just to be looking at from an understanding of how the body works, is to go in slow and go in with ease. And we can probably use that analogy for other things in our life too.
I can think of a few things where that might apply. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tracey. You just always have so much to share, and I'm really looking forward to our 6-week seminar that starts November 7th, and we still have spots open for people to sign up. So I guess we'll just end this call here saying, thank you everyone for joining us at Healing for Life Together, where we're committed to healing and transformation for individuals worldwide. Hopefully we'll see you November 7th. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.